So, if you missed it yesterday, did a video talking about the offensive and defensive coordinator positions for Dallas, who I felt could be in those positions come this year, and also some guys I'm really looking at. But the reason I ask you to go back and watch that is because it gives you a sense of how I'm feeling and some understanding of where I'm coming from when I'm talking about the things I'm going to talk about in this video about Mike McCarthy. Okay, so Mike McCarthy's going into his third year now as Cowboys head coach, and I wanted to go over where I'm feeling on a confidence level, where I'm at there, and with that, how does he compare to the previous guy, and just give circumstances, what's going to happen. So, with that being said, if you guys could like the video, that'd be greatly appreciated. Doesn't take too long to do. If you could subscribe, that'd be awesome as well. I'm trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers by the end of the year as my goal for 2022. So if you could do that, that'd be awesome. And hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on new content like this. Now, Mike McCarthy has now went through two interesting seasons. You look at 2020. You're thinking, okay, we're bringing in a guy who has had many years of playoff experience, has won a Super Bowl, has done all that. Okay, he's worked with quarterbacks, you get the whole thing. And you look at what happened and you're like, okay, if we could just retool a couple things, maybe, just maybe, we could be on the right track and we could finally get back to the playoffs, all that stuff. Here's the problem. The problem is that the 2020 Dallas Cowboys went on a complete downward spiral after the injuries wrecked their season. The fact being that your offensive line was decimated. You lost your quarterback. Your running back was hurt. Your defense was complete garbage, okay? We're talking about all of those things factoring into a terrible 2020 season. Now, what I think helped Mike in this instance was he basically had a free year because the injury passed. Now, to go 6-10, given the circumstances, is pretty good. But that doesn't excuse the fact that you hired Mike Nolan, who was one of the worst hirings that the Cowboys could have done in their history. But, it's like, okay, so we kind of understood that this team needs to be given a new foundation because the players were not as good as advertised or like thought. So now the question now becomes, okay, so what led into 2021? Well, in 2021, you have Mike McCarthy getting Dan Quinn as his DC, and then you build up the defense, and you have a successful season with your offense being one of the best in the league, albeit with certain circumstances that happened in the year, and your defense rapidly improved to only allowing they were the seventh best scoring defense in the NFL, which is a massive improvement from last year. And their yardage totals significantly decreased in the amount allowed. So, I'm not going to sit here and say that Mike McCarthy deserves to be fired, especially with what happened in the wild card round, because all things considered, you got to look at it this way. This team, right, is, I understand that some other organizations have had guys that have come in and done the job rapidly, but I think something that kind of myself and many others have to realize is that sometimes middle teams take time, and we got to consider the fact we had the previous guy for 10 plus years. Now, that doesn't mean that Mike McCarthy doesn't have his own faults, which, look, the fact that Mike McCarthy has this weird mentality that he doesn't really want to put his imprint on things and take ownership of things or take charge, I have a bit of a problem with that. Now, I don't have a problem if you defer to your assistants, okay? But if I'm Dallas, right, or if I'm a head coach and I'm a offensive guru, or so we think, you need to be able to take things under control and do what you got to do. If you got to call the plays, you got to call the plays, especially if there's a problem. Like, when you look at what happened at the end of 2021, you could see that the offense was becoming more and more anemic as the year went on, and you weren't doing any favors for your players, and you could see that. The players weren't doing their part, and you could attribute that to other coaches on the coaching staff that he has brought in. Like Joe Philbin, for example. Joe Philbin, I was giving him praise last year because I felt like he was developing some of these guys like Connor Williams, who was playing very well, and then you have Terrence Steele, who was developing, but they haven't done well. Like the offensive line with all the guys there, I've never seen them play that bad. We allowed a 50% pressure rate. Like, holy crap. That is terrible against the 49ers on 49 rushes. Oh my god, like what in the hell? Like that is terrible. So in totality, I talked about the season. I felt that this was a season where Mike McCarthy has earned the right to keep his job, because when you look at the previous guy, that's what's important to me. Are you doing better than your predecessor? Jason Garrett went 8-8 and 8-8. Mike McCarthy 6-10 and 12-5. Now, with Jason Garrett, right? He went 8-8 that third year in a row. And so here's where my confidence level is with Mr. Mike McCarthy. Right now, I would say I am at a 3. I'm not super concerned, but my ears are perked up with what's going on. So when Mike McCarthy started out in Dallas, I was at about a 4. Okay, I was about a 4. I was thinking, okay, maybe the Cowboys got the right guy. You're getting the experienced individual that comes in with the Super Bowl ring and all the playoff experience, the NFC Championship game experience. Like, it was the correct hire on paper. Like, you're getting the most experienced guy because that's what they wanted. That's what they said they wanted. Now, we don't know what was said behind closed doors, so, obviously things could have been said. Because I know not even when they hired him, they talked, of course, behind closed doors. But also, even at the end of this year, they had a meeting, and so, he's saved for next year. I'm telling you, Mike, if you can't get this team to the playoffs next year, and you better hope to God that the other teams won 10 or more games. If you can't get this team to the playoffs, with the 7th seed being a thing, and you don't win a playoff game, or 2, I'm going to just give you, at least win a playoff game. If you don't do that, you're out of here, son. You got to go. You can't, we can't be doing this, okay, we're going to wait, because with Jason Garrett, we waited too long, and it's okay. I would say after the 3rd year is going to be that defining moment of what are we getting with this coach? Are we getting a legitimate guy that's going to build a winning culture that will get us 10-plus wins a season at minimum and get us to the playoffs with a chance to win something? And be prepared at that. If that doesn't happen next year, you got to let him go. And, you look at the options that are available. Okay? Now, if Mike McCarthy leaves, now you have to seriously wonder what type of direction you want to go as a team. Because you brought in Mike McCarthy to correct the course with this ship that we're on to get us back to where we want to go. And if he can't deliver on that, now we have to look at, now do you consider blowing up the team? And I hate to say that because I think that would be the wrong thing to do because, like I always stress, the Jones boys and the Jones family still run this organization, and if they're going to continue the country club mentality and not go all out, this team isn't going to do anything. So, if it were up to me, it depends on how year 3 goes. If they do well and they get a playoff win or 2, Mike McCarthy has earned the right to stay once again. So there's that. Who would I want to hire? If 2022 doesn't go well and you can him, who's up on the table? So you got Sean Payton. I know that's been a big talking point because, he's got the Parcell connection. I really do like Sean Payton. I think that he is not afraid to coach. I really like what he brings to the table. Now, how he would work with Jerry is another question, and I doubt he would get hired here, but there's that. Now, you mentioned Eric Bieniemy, and you can even throw Mike Kafka. I mentioned him in the offensive coordinator spot, but Eric Bieniemy has been a hot commodity for years now. Does he finally get a job? Do you go and get this guy? Well, we don't know that. We'll see if he gets hired I think he got interviewed by the Texans, I believe. So we'll see how that goes. But I think that Eric Bieniemy is another option. The Reed coaching tree, which has been a legendary coaching tree. So I would keep an eye out on that. You got Matt Eberflus, former linebackers coach here. Now, he was under that Garrett tree, but you look at Frank Reich as well and how he's done with the Colts defensively, and I would really love to have that type of guy here. I think that he has earned the right to get a look at a head coaching position, and I would like, and you're going more of a defensive type of coach, so you have a different philosophy coming in. But again, can you manage with the Jones guys? Like, are they going to push you to do something like there? So that's another option. Now, not my favorite, but you do got Josh McDaniels, Bill Belichick coaching tree. I don't trust it, but that's going to be a name floated around. And finally, my personal favorite as of this moment in 2022, okay, so things can change as we get further along. It would be Nathaniel Hackett, offensive coordinator for the Packers. Now, the reason why he is my favorite out of the bunch is I want to see some new blood at the head coaching position. And what I mean by that is I don't want to retread of a guy that was a head coach to be, because unless you know what you're getting, like Sean Payton would be an exception there, obviously. So why Nathaniel Hackett stands out as the Packers OC to me, and Space Cowboys mentioning another Packers guy, you got to realize, pay attention to the tree he was a part of. So you got Matt LaFleur, okay, as the head coach, Sean McVay, Mike Shanahan. That tree has been something else. Like, the fact that, you got guys like Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur in that tree. There's another guy that was a part of that. I don't remember who it was, but he was another name. Nathaniel Hackett intrigues me because of the way he's been able to scheme up and help Aaron Rodgers continue to be the best quarterback in the league. Getting the ball. Now, there is a possibility that, it could be Aaron Rodgers just is that goddamn good. But that's something you got to keep an eye out on, because when you look at hiring a head coach, it's extremely important to know the resume that they've built. Like Sean Payton, where did he come from? Eric Bieniemy, where did he come from? And so on and so forth. So if it were up to me, I would look at Nathaniel Hackett as the next head coach of the Cowboys in 2023 if Mike McCarthy was gone. But to circle back around, unless the Jones guys are willing to get their asses out of the way, which they won't, but if they're able to just give a little bit of room for these coaches to do their part, I think that would be great. But the biggest question mark in 2023 will be, if the season disappoints again, what do you do? Do you blow up the team? I'm not a big fan of doing that because of what this front office has shown me. Yes, they can draft because Will McClay's there and you got some other scouts there that are great. What bothers me is, do I trust the Jones guys to really, how you say, properly rebuild a team? Because until you really stumbled upon until you stumbled upon Tony Romo and Dak Prescott, you were fucked over from the coaches that you had, aside from Chan Gailey. I think Chan Gailey was fine, but you really went into this coaching carousel, and you really turned into like the Cleveland Browns of the league. Like, you didn't do yourself any service. And I hate to be that harsh, but unless the Jones family can get out of the way and hire a guy that isn't a fucking mediocrity jackass or a retread, then we're gonna have problems. I think they were looking at like Jack Del Rio. Who's the other guy? They were looking at someone else. I think it was Gary Kubiak they were looking at. Again, I'm not a fan of that. Go get one of those guys that can stand out and take care of business. And this list will grow. The list that I have here is going off of this year. I want to see what happens next year. So keep an eye out on that. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. If you could make sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new, and hit the notification bell on the way out, that would be fantastic. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye-bye.